Okay.
Okay, so we'll start with Ben Bulch from the LA Times.
Good morning, Coach Skipper.
Morning, Ben.
A couple things for you. First, just kind of nuts and bolts injury updates. Obviously, Nico came back, but I know sometimes adrenaline can get you through that thing, and then it kind of seizes up on you later. Did he come out of that all right?
So today's a major day for us as far as treatment and rehabbing and getting MRIs and all that type of stuff. So that's what we're doing right now. We're in that process. Saw everybody yesterday with the meeting. Guys were sore, which understandable, but we'll have more of an update after we see the guys later on this evening.
And then, so does that mean that he's getting an MRI, or you just mean for the whole team?
I'm talking the whole team,
Okay.
not
And
nobody.
then last part on the injury update, and then I got one more thing. Anthony and Javian on the radio broadcast said they, were kind of out at the end of the game. Was that true? And what's their status?
They got dinged up as the game went on. Both guys kind of got rolled up on, kind of unfortunate, and they weren't able to keep on going at the end of the game. So we'll see. They're in the same boat. I mean, I won't know totally until tomorrow, see who can go and who can't, and all that type of stuff, and how severe things are. But we are dinged up. I mean, we just played 4 games in a row. This will be the fifth, so we'll see what it is. It all comes with the game, and I don't want to speculate on anything right now. I just want to get more information.
And then my question is, what's the biggest upset you've ever been involved in pulling off, either as a player or a coach? What were kind of the circumstances? How did it come about, and what did it feel like once you did it?
You're putting me on the spot here. La, la, la. Ah, ah, my freshman year playing, we played Hawaii, okay, who hadn't won a game in forever, and they upset us. They beat us over there on the Rock in Hawaii. The next week, so we had to fly to Hawaii, play Hawaii, get beat up, and then we had to go back and play on a Saturday against Air Force, which Air Force was like ranked, I think, number 15 in the country. Really good team. I think it was Bo Morgan was the quarterback. But we played them at Air Force. They were rolling, and we found a way to go get that thing done. For me, as a young guy, as a freshman, to play in that game and to see how we dramatically changed our work ethic and everything during practice and our mindset to get ready to go play an option team, which you don't practice for except for the week of the game. And for us to go out there and beat them at their place, it was a packed sellout crowd, everything, all the Air Force people were there in uniform and everything. And for us to go pull that game off, that was huge.
So you've kind of already done it this year once, I guess, at least with the betting line against Penn State, right? So does that help you going into a situation like Indiana on Saturday?
I don't really think anything from the past is going to do anything for this game. I'm one of those people that thinks every single game has its own history, its own identity. So we're going to have to go out there, we're going to have to play Bruin football, and we're going to have to win the situations. There's always going to be critical situations come up. We're going to have to win those situations. I think the most important thing leading up to the game is how we're going to practice this week. We need to have a good week of practice and be ready to go.
Ben Royer, LA Daily News.
Good morning, Coach Skip.
Morning.
Two questions. First is looking back at the film, was there anything that you didn't notice live during the game that might have, inferred something over the last, 48 hours?
Uh, I would say this. Our run game, it felt like as I was watching the game, it felt like we were just getting, like we weren't getting a lot of push, we weren't moving it that well. But as you watch the film, we were running pretty well. I think we had 193 yards rushing. We had some yards after contact and things like that, had a couple explosives. Just the feel from the sideline compared to when I watched it was just completely different. So that's the first thing that would stick out in my mind.
And then secondly, I mean, I feel like special teams kind of an underrated unit on Saturday. Will Carroll got multiple punts within the 10, Carter Shaw downing multiple of them. Can you talk about how important it is to get those little victories and moments like that?
Oh yeah, like I say, every play matters, and special teams to me has been very consistent all year long. I think our coverage units are really, really good. Our kickoff team's doing a great job. I mean, we're tackling people inside the 20 often whenever it gets returned. Our guys buy into what we're doing. I think Bailey McElwain does a great job with that. Has great meetings and it carries over to the field and explaining the details and the why behind our system and why we're doing things. Special teams is so week to week because everybody does different stuff. So you have to adapt and overcome a lot of different formation situations and things like that. And I'm very pleased with how the special team's been playing.
Dave Woods, Bruin Report Online.
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
A couple of questions. First, so there were a couple of, I think, calls that went against you guys that were maybe phantom calls or anything. Did you see anything on those? I think it was the block in the back on Quasi, and then there was a hold late. Did you see anything on those that would have implied a foul? And did they say anything to you during the game about what was going on those calls?
And with officiating, there's a lot of judgment calls out there. They don't care if I agree or disagree, really don't. So all I kind of want is an explanation. Give me an explanation, and we have to move on to the next play. That's really what it all comes down to. Judgment, everybody has their own judgment and opinions on things. I just preach to the team and the staff. We always have to overcome and adapt. That's no matter. The calls could go our way, they could go against us, whatever it is. We need to overcome and adapt and get ready for the next play. And that's basically how it all went down.
And then, so with that, I mean, obviously there were a lot of calls that were both, justified or not, and then there was just a lot of stuff kind of going wrong during that game. To show that resilience, kind of a different way of winning than the last couple. What does that say about kind of the growth of this team's mental and kind of mindset?
Definitely. I think it was huge. I think we needed this test. I think it happened for a reason. We needed to be in a close ball game and see if we had enough belief and strain to figure out a way to just have one more point than the other team has. And that's exactly what we had. We went up there at the end and they drove it down and tied it up. And then we had a gut check and we had to do a drive, a 2-minute drive with only like 40 seconds, I think it was on the clock to get in the field goal range. And we ended up almost scoring a touchdown out of that thing. And then to nail that field goal was awesome. Just so happy and pleased with our guys, the way we fought. And every single play matters. We always preach, but literally it did in that game. And we do 2-minute stuff every Wednesday at practice. So for that to pay off for us, that was huge. It's just validation that what we do at practice is working.
Let's go to Tracy McDaniel from On3.
Hey, Skip. Thanks for taking the time. Just a few things from me. First, a follow-up on, the calls that went against you. Have you guys formally submitted anything to the league office?
Every week we submit. So we definitely submit, and then the league office does what they do with it. They kind of just give you explanations to what happens.
Okay. And then, you mentioned earlier some of the explosive plays. Titus in particular, when you look at, the numbers, his yards after the catch, I believe he had 39. No other receiver had 10. What was he specifically able to do against that, those Maryland defensive backs? Because it seemed like most of the other positions, they were right there making a stop.
I'm
Coach,
sorry, your question is breaking up on me.
Coach, I think he was asking about
Oh,
Titus.
sorry about it. Yeah.
Asking
Yeah,
about
it was
Titus,
yards after the catch.
yards after the catch for Titus.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Titus, he did a good job of finding holes within zone coverage. So he was sitting down in a lot of spots where they were pretty sticky coverage on our other guys, and then he was sitting there in these little holes, and we were able to find him. And then he does a great job after he catches it of getting vertical. He does a really good job of that. I always tell him that. So he's just a crafty receiver. When you zone coverage against him, he's going to find the little holes. He sits down in there and then he makes the most of it after the catch. So he did a really good job in the game. He also had a really good kickoff return because they spray the ball in different places. So we had guys back there able to be ball handlers and return it. And so I think all-purpose yards, he had like 156. So a very good game by him. I hope I answered your question correctly. I didn't completely hear it.
We'll go to Jordan Mendoza, USA Today.
Good morning, Coach. How's it going?
Good morning.
Wanted to ask you, I know before last week's game, you had like almost a call to the action for the students and for the crowd to, show up at the Rose Bowl. Wanted to ask what your thoughts were on just, the vibe and energy that you saw going through the Bruin Walk and in the Rose Bowl itself. It seemed like there was a more like, optimistic, positive vibe from the fan base. And I was curious to see what you felt on your end.
Yeah, we felt the excitement. The whole entire team did. I'll tell you what's big time is when you look in the end zones and you can see people right there behind the goalposts. I think that is huge. It was packed house down there. making plays. You could hear the crowd erupting. Execution fuels emotion. I thought it was wonderful. Like you said, it all started when we did the Bruin walk. There was people out there, people yelling people's names and clapping and cheering. I mean, it was awesome. I think we could just keep on building from that thing, and it'll get better and better as we keep going.
And then also with Indiana, it is number two team ranked in the country. The people know, how good the Hoosiers are. How do you understand that this game, what this means for UCLA? Not trying to make it too big, not trying to make it too small. How do you get the focus on, this is a game, but also the importance of what it means for the rest of the season as well too?
Yeah, so we're one of those teams that, the next game's always the biggest game. So this Indiana game is the next game, so this is a big game for us. Um, we're gonna have a good week of practice. We're gonna have to figure out exactly what we need to do to give us the best chance to win and attack that from our mindset and our work ethic as far as how we attack the week. We're gonna go to a hostile environment. We're gonna play in front of a national TV audience. It's gonna be early in the morning. All those things are there. But really, what comes down to is what are we going to do between the white lines when it kicks off? And that's where our focus is right now. And then we'll talk about more of the other stuff once the game is over. But right now, we want to take this thing as a one practice, one day, and then one play at a time.
We'll move to Jack Hazlitt, Sporting Tribune.
Hi, good morning, Coach.
Morning, Jack.
So I just wanted to ask, so after your post-game presser, when we saw the players, Mateen, Mikey, Anthony, Roderick, they all repeated kind of your phrase from that week that the standards are the standards. Um, what does it mean, sort of, just to hear your players kind of take those messages to heart the way that they have? And is there a message for this week?
It means a lot, you know they're listening. You know what I'm saying? I'm not up there just talking. I think that part is huge. But I can tell by their actions if they're hearing me. The way they go about their business, which the guys have attacked every single day since I've been in this position that I'm in. It's really good to see. It gives me a lot of validation. I like to see that these guys are putting their mind towards something and achieving their goals. You're trying to get small wins every single day, so you get that big one on Saturday. So it's been really good to see the guys just go about their business, understand the messages we have each week, and attack those messages so we can get a positive outcome on Saturday. As far as the message this week, it's kind of, to be honest with you, that'll happen tomorrow. So I don't want to say too much about it. I want to tell the team first, but it's not so much what I'm going to say or whatever. It's not about the words. It's all about our actions. So bottom line is we need to have a good week of practice to give us a chance on Saturday.
Connor Dollinger, Daily Bruin.
Good morning, Coach.
Morning, Connor.
Can you just talk a little bit about, the secondary and how they performed over the last, 2 weeks? I know, we talk a little bit about the underrated group from the special teams, but the secondary has really stepped up, limiting Childs, limiting Washington. I know obviously you had the pick, in the fourth down stop, but, also a lot of times could have came up with interceptions. So just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the whole back end's been doing really good. I think I'll start with Coach Meat and Coach Lynn. They do a great job with those guys. We've kind of tweaked some techniques and scheme stuff. So for those guys to adapt to things in the middle of the season has been awesome. I think our secondary likes to challenge people. So they like to put themselves in risky situations and see if they can come down with a positive result. So they're getting hands on receivers and they're shadowing them and we're staying sticky. There's not a lot of air between the ball and the receiver and them. So I really like the way our guys are working. They attack practice. They work when we go to individual drills. We do one-on-ones every Tuesday. So they're going against our best receivers and it's just good challenging and competition. And we're just getting better and better. I think that's the big thing. I always talk about being on the rise. And I think that position group in general has definitely been on the rise.
Thomas Murray, Sporting Tribune.
Good morning, Coach Scoop.
Good morning.
My question for you is, I know you say you take things game by game when, you play a opponent, but you guys have been one of the, best inspirational stories in college football right now, and you're going to play the number two team in the country. Just everything that's been going on, in this run that you guys have been on, how can you use that inspiration and just keep the guys motivated for this game this week?
I think it comes back to what we talked about last week is the standards of standard. It's not going to matter who we're playing or where we're playing at or any of that. We've identified our style of play and what we want to be. Now we got to back it up every single day and in every single game. We have to back up to play the way we're supposed to play. We have to be the best versions of ourselves. So I just think of things that way. Our Tuesday practice tomorrow needs to be better than last Tuesday's practice. That's how I see it. And as long as we're just rising, we'll be fine.
Ben Bolch.
Um, the flip side of losing a couple running backs was that Anthony Frias II had that, huge breakthrough, right? How inspiring was that for a guy buried on the depth chart? And, did you know the story about him standing outside the Rose Bowl as a kid holding up a sign that said, "I will play here someday"? And then he comes in and has, a huge game like that.
So I didn't know the complete story, but he kind of told me in my office. We were talking one day a couple weeks ago, and he kind of told me that story that he always wanted to play in the Rose Bowl and things like that. But I didn't know there was a picture and signs and all that. I had no idea. So that is awesome. It's great by the family to get that picture and keep it. That's big time, to be honest with you. I was more impressed with that part of it than anything. But you talk about somebody that attacks every day and works really, really hard and doesn't say a word, doesn't complain or anything, just keeps on working and I mean, he is exactly be ready when your moment is called. Like he was ready to go. And he made the most of the situation. He made critical plays. I mean, we're not just talking he got some first down or something. He made critical impact, explosive plays that changed that game. And for that to happen for him, it couldn't have happened to a better person.
And then last thing for you, I know you can't comment on specific recruits, but the staff has continued to put in effort. You just landed another commitment. What does it say about the infrastructure and the recruiting effort and I saw Coach Kwan talking to somebody pregame. I mean, what does it say about this staff that, with all the uncertainty, is still working their butts off and landing people?
Yeah, we're full speed ahead. We're working. I mean, we are grinding over here. We're not letting anything go to waste or not giving effort in one area or another. It's full speed in everything that we're doing. We have a great support staff. I could name a million people, but that teamwork that's happening in there and getting kids to be at the games and things like that and to visit and see UCLA and see all the wonderful things that we have here and just give them whys of why you should be here. You're in the Rose Bowl with a beautiful day. Who wouldn't want to be there? That type of thing. And then to see our style of play and the efforts we do on the field, I think it's a win-win for a lot of the guys that we're recruiting. But they have to make that decision. Fortunately, we get some guys that really like what we're doing, and hopefully it continues.
And one bonus question, if I could. You played for a coach whose mantra was anyone, anytime, anywhere. Does that give you, a little bit of juice just drawing on that going into a game like this on Saturday?
That's always part of me. That was kind of, I've been brainwashed that way, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, to me, once the whistle blows, it's just us against you. I mean, it's time to go. Let's see who had the better week of practice. Let's see who's more prepared. Let's see who wants this thing. So that's how I see it. We're gonna kick it off. We're gonna have to be ready to strain and for every inch, and let's see what happens. That's how I see it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then it looks like we'll wrap up here with Ben Royer.
Yeah, just kind of lastly, I mean, of course, Indiana this weekend. What have you seen from them that makes them such a special team?
Ooh. So I started watching film on them yesterday. So I just finished our game real quick and then from Maryland and then I moved on to Indiana. And I am still trying to identify weaknesses. Like it is crazy how disciplined they are. Coach Signetti does a great job with those guys. They are very, very disciplined in all three phases. Like they're not giving up any explosive plays or they having a ton of explosive plays. They tackle very, very well. And then their ball handlers. I'm not just talking running backs. I'm talking receivers and the quarterback. They break a lot of tackles. Like they complement each phase of the game so well. It's not surprising that they're so good and the record is what they are and what they are ranked. So um, offensively for them, they're gonna try to control the clock and things like that. They're not real tricky. They're gonna do what they do. They're gonna run the ball, and they have the most explosive runs in the Big Ten this year right now. So we're gonna have to tackle. We're gonna have to stop those guys. Defensively for them, okay, they're not tricky. They're gonna play their zones. They're gonna be four down. The thing they do more than anybody we played this year is they're gonna give us simulated pressures. So we're gonna need to be ready for the simulated pressures. Have a plan for that. There's still just four guys rushing, but who's the fourth rusher is what we're going to have to identify and have a plan for. And then on special teams, they are very, very sound. They definitely practice that as a point of difference. I feel the same way about STs. It's a point of difference. So it's going to be a major, major challenge in that phase of the game.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Thanks so much for your time.
All right. Thank y'all.